When it comes to insurance, is your group covered? If not, what do you need to think about when looking for the right policy? We spoke to Brian Hourihane, Artistic Director of the East Lane Theatre, and Eddie Redfern, Chairman of the Little Theatre Guild.
Little Theatre Guild is a membership of 107 theatres, all amateur in nature, but the uniqueness is our members own and run their own theatre premises. And one area that we work with our members is on advising them of legal areas. And of course, insurance is very important to our members.
Traditionally, we were insured with Prudential since the time we opened the theatre, which is 1990. Now, they went out of that type of insurance and put this on to Zurich, because Zurich are well known in the amateur theatre, and NODA recommends them as well.
We work with some specialist brokers who talked to us and understood theatre, because it's very easy to go out there and find a broker, an insurance broker, and they will sell you a policy which you'll be quite happy with, but maybe not getting a cover that is appropriate to that theatre and their activities. And I think that's where we found working with these brokers was very helpful, because they understood the theatre activities and the sort of activity that theatres carry out in the normal course of business. We encourage our theatres to ask their broker to come and do a site assessment and bring an underwriter with them, so that the underwriter can see the steps you take in terms of health and safety, that you've got written risk assessments, and that you take health and safety and the safety of your patrons and public seriously. And if you're demonstrating you've got those procedures in place, that is the way the underwriter is prepared to accept a lower premium in many cases.
Well, obviously we want to insure the building we're in, all our equipment and scenery, and of course public liability for the members of the public who come if they have an accident or something happens, and also all the people who are working at the theatre. Although most of them are amateur, we still need to insure them against personal injury or damage and so forth.
What happens if, when building the set, something falls down on top of one of our volunteers? Is the theatre covered for any claims that may arise as a result of that? And of course, our member theatres take health and safety very seriously, and in this day and age you have to. So we're able to demonstrate to insurers the steps we take through risk assessments, that we're taking the right steps to mitigate any potential losses. If you look at premises, you've then got to consider the contents. And of course, a number of theatres have some quite valuable props. And our wardrobes, some theatres have some genuine Victorian costumes, which again are quite valuable. So you need to ensure you've got sufficient insurance to cover that.
The liability or the insurance to cover shows, we have got a separate insurance with Zurich again if we have to cancel a show. Through illness or through weather or through any other reason, and we can claim back the money we spent on the show. We're insured for up to 5 shows a year. Now if that increases, we obviously have to get in touch with them. So we've been going here now since 1990, and it's now 2012. We haven't ever had to cancel a show. I mean, if an actor gets ill, and we have had a couple of times, somebody comes on and reads the part, we go to the audience and say, look, I'm sorry, but so-and-so can't. As the professional theatre does, we're having somebody reading the part tonight, and if you want to claim your money back, you can, but they never do.
And of course, if you're touring with a production, you need to consider insurance while you're away from the premises. And for those theatre companies that don't have their own premises, they've got to consider how they insure their activity in the leased building they're using for that production. Little Theatre Guild members hire the venues out and do a lot of incoming lets to other companies. So it's important that that dialogue is had between the theatre that's hosting the club and the company that are coming in, so that there are no gaps. So it's a question of the theatre coming in, ensuring that they've got appropriate insurance, and which bits of the contract, the lease, will provide the insurance cover for them as a visiting theatre.
If you're running something like this with 70 or 80 members, and you're talking about 75 people a night for 7 nights for 5 shows a year, you have got that. Those people have got to be comfortable that they're coming here. Now, most of them probably don't even know they're insured. But we have to know, and they're our customers, and we've got to look after them. And we've got a lot of elderly people, and you know, somebody could fall down and have an injury, and you know, we'd be very comfortable that they're covered for that injury, especially if they fall over a bit of our equipment or something like that.
You injure a member of the public, and if you haven't got appropriate public liability insurance, again, you've got a large claim and maybe insufficient funds to pay that claim out. So it's absolutely vital that theatres have got the appropriate level of insurance, and that's where advice of a good broker comes in. The big danger is clearly an event happening and the loss and not being able to cover that loss. For example, if the premises burned down and it's not insured adequately, you've got the theatre company goes out of business because they can't afford to rebuild.
So I think it's really, really important. And it's not that expensive. It's less, our insurance is less than £300 a year to cover all those things at the moment.